Hey everybody, welcome back to another tutorial here on my channel. This is Boomer, and today we are going to continue our look down Galactifun. Today is part 2. And I've been spending a lot of time debating back and forth. Should we go to Mars today? Should we go to Venus? Where do we want to go? What are we going to do? And so before we even talk about where we're going, I want to follow up from last week. So one of the things that I kind of missed on a little bit was the gold ore. That's actually, when you mine that, gives you your moon cheese. So what do you do with moon cheese, right? Well, you can't click anything in the air, you can't place it, but what you do is you consume it. It's food. And so if you've watched my hunger bar here, as I click the ground with it, it did consume one earlier and started to slowly repair my health. So you can see I've got a little bit of a hunger bar again. I'll hit it again. It's taking up a little bit more. So little by little, moon cheese is actually filling my hunger and replenishing my hearts. Now, as you just see, there's a slight bugaboo there that I'll let Sega know about. But moon cheese is what comes out from gold ore. Now, I did try extensively to create a farm for harvesting mun powder and was not successful. No matter where I built it, they would not spawn. The only possible way I can think of to do it would be to clear out a 272 block area by 272 block area, essentially 17 chunks by 17 chunks, clear it all out, and then in the exact center chunk would be where you'd have to build a farm. And I actually went back into the code to try to understand how they spawn, and it looks like they only spawn on the topmost block of the random area that they choose, because the moon is completely full. And so you wouldn't be able to create layers. So if I cleared out 8 chunks in every direction and built a 9th, I'm not even sure if they would spawn in that, because it looks like, and I very well could be reading the code wrong, that it's only naturally generated terrain. So if that's the case, you could flatten it, right, and make a spot for them to spawn, clear underneath it for some type of harvesting system, but they don't spawn at any significant rate. So you're almost better off just going up there, walking around with a looting 10 sword, and having fun that way. All right, so today we did bring some stuff back. Obviously, we brought our moon cheese. We brought back some moon dust. We brought back some moon rocks, some mun powder for use later on down the road. For now, we're going to talk about the observatory. Whoops. And at some point, too, we'll use some other items here. But what we're going to do is we're going to make lunar glass. And that simply is moon dust and sand in a smeltery. You can do it in a manual one. You can do it in any of the electric versions. It doesn't matter what. Doesn't take super long. I think it's roughly, by looking at that, about 12 seconds. And there we have lunar glass. All right, so what we're going to do now is build the observatory. The observatory is a multi-block structure. You can't cheat it in. And this is what's going to allow us to discover other planets. So it starts with a 3x3 with iron blocks in a corner and a piston in the middle. Then we're going to move up, pistons on either side, lunar glass in the middle, finally our last piston, and 2 blocks of iron. So what do? You click the lunar glass. Now, I did this about 10 minutes ago just to get the process started to save a little bit of time. By doing that, you start discovering the remaining part of the universe. Because if you remember from last episode, when we came over to the launch pad and we were going to select where we were going to go, all we had was Jupiter with nothing underneath it and Saturn with nothing underneath it. So we could go to the moon, we could go to Earth orbit, or we could just stay right where we are. So I've got the process started of discovering other planets. It takes approximately 30 minutes. And so while that's going on, I did decide today, in looking at all of the items that require a trip to Venus versus all that require a trip to Mars, you're actually better off going to Mars first, because there are things that you can use to eliminate having to harvest a ton of oil. And we can actually get the materials to make the atmospheric harvester to start making these trips out into the solar system much easier. Now, right now, all I have in here is actually 1 bucket of fuel. We're going to go to Mars today. And in order to do that, we need first for it to get discovered. So once it's been discovered, we can go. So I'm going to go work on a couple things while we are discovering the universe. So wouldn't you know it, I discovered Mars actually pretty quickly. It did not take 30 minutes. It probably took closer to 10 minutes. Anyways, we're going to try to figure out where we're going to go. So I'm going to drop in a whole ton of fuel. While that's loading into my tier 2 chemical rocket, I'm going to see where can we go now. So we've got Earth, we got Saturn, we got Jupiter. We don't have enough fuel in here yet to get to Mars. So let's see what happens. Once we finally put enough fuel in, and I believe that magic number was somewhere around 48. So 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, let's see if we've discovered Mars. Here, look at this. We now can go to Mars. A couple things that we've learned is that it's a cold planet, right? Well, our gear, our spacesuit, we've already got the chest plate charging full of oxygen. We'll have all 10 on there, so it'll be nice and warm. You'll see daylight night. It's 1 day equals 1 hour. A little bit different than what we're used to, and of course not a whole lot of atmospheric pressure. The distance from Mars, so if you do that math, right now is roughly 95 million kilometers. Remember, planets move, so if I come back out of here and I come back in, now look at it, it's 9.429. So Mars is actually getting closer, I believe, 9.425. So Mars is significantly closer. It would not take as much fuel as it would to get out to Venus. As a matter of fact, Venus still has not appeared yet. Right now, I think Venus is somewhere around 250 million kilometers away. So we are actually going to go to Mars. Now we're going to take some stuff with us. First, let's see, where is our... You know, for what we need, I think that's enough oxygen for now, but we'll let it go just a little bit longer while we're going to take some stuff with us. So we'll take some moon cheese just for a snack. We're going to take some iron ore and reinforced pressure plates. There's a big reason why you want to take this with you. We'll talk about it once we are on Mars. Let's go ahead and get our space suit on. Let's see, helmet, chest plate. We need some oxygen. I actually did die of oxygen deprivation earlier today. All right, we've got our space suit. We have some food. We got some iron and reinforced plates. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And actually, let's do this. Let's take an iron sword as well. And I want to damage it slightly. Actually, let's do this. Just so you can be able to see the difference. Let's mine this sand with iron sword. There we go. I just wanted to damage the durability because this will come into play. All right, so let's go to Mars. Hang tight, everybody. Yes, we are. Let's go to, well, we've been going to 0, 0. Let's keep our consistency here. Thanks again, Biscuit, by the way, for allowing us to go to Mars. Before we talk about resources, and by the way, if I haven't mentioned this, I put a whole ton of fuel in my rocket. So it brought the extra fuel with me. The problem is 17 buckets of fuel might not be enough to get me back home. So I probably should have brought some more fuel. Well, I guess I'm going to hitch a ride on an asteroid. All right, right now, because we are on Mars, guess what? The Martians are inhabiting Mars, and we're looking for one. Now, I need to damage this sword again. There we go. Let's see if we can't find ourselves a Martian as well as a meteor. There are some resources you're going to want to collect while we are on Mars. One of them is going to be meteors, because meteors, I believe it's in a smeltery, can be used to smelt it into tungsten. And you're going to need a ton of tungsten. Now, these Martians, there are two types. There's the Martian, there's one that's going to say, I believe it's called Xerox. They will do something for you. First of all, if you give them your iron sword, they will actually repair it. And that's why I broke that one block of sand so that you could see the durability was repaired. They also trade iron ore. If you give them iron ore, they'll give you iron ingots. Now you could set up an actual farm, trap one in like a villager trading hall, and make this a lot easier versus running around on the surface of Mars. The other thing they'll do is they'll take a reinforced plate and they'll turn it into tungsten ingots. Now you can find meteors all over the planet, but they are kind of rare. They're not going to be super populated. Like in this area, you might see one, possibly two. Oh boy, I think he's catching up with me here. I'm trying to get away from the guy. I was hoping to find one. Essentially what you're looking for is ancient debris. In case you just mine them up. That's all there is to it. Fortune won't do any good. It drops as the block you see, and you're going to use a smeltery to harvest the tungsten out of it. Now I know someone's going to ask the question, well, what if I use a carbonado edge furnace? We'll find out when we get back to Earth. The other thing we're going to do is go digging. Now the nice thing about Mars is it's a cold planet, so you can dig straight down. There's no lava, so you don't have to worry about that. We're going to go through a few layers of Mars dust, and then we're going to start getting to what's going to be called, I believe it's Mars rocks. Yep. So we want to get to under y equals 30. So let's see, where are we right now? 40. All the resources you're going to want on Mars are under 30. And there's two resources specifically that we're looking for: dry ice and iron. And I'm going to tell you, iron is so plentiful, you're going to be shocked. Let's see, how far low are we here? We're at 24. I'll tell you what, let's go even lower. Let's get down to y equals 16, 15. There's our ice. Look at this. So we found a patch of dry ice. And when you do find it, I would harvest all of it and bring it with you, because you're not going to see tons of dry ice. This is a little rarer. We got kind of lucky when we fell and dig down right into it. So I'd want to bring all this back. And again, we'll talk more about what these are used for later. But I think you'd probably be able to mine close to a stack. Right now I just want to talk about planets, what we do, how do we harvest everything. So as I said, iron is insanely plentiful. You're not going to have to worry about going strip mining. I mean, you just mine what's on the surface and you're going to find tons of it. And it looks like we hit the jackpot area too, because there's another patch of dry ice in the background. Pretty good sized one too, but as you can see, finding iron is no problem at all. We can come all the way down here to bedrock. I mean, literally, come in here with like Fortune 15, right? Make one of those from the auto enchanters using the book binders, combining them. Of course, that would take about 4,000 blocks if you start with Fortune 3. Or come down here with the Infinity World Breaker with Fortune 20 on it. You can imagine what you could pull out of here for resources, right? Because iron, like I said, it's everywhere. It's crazy. So going back to Xerix, the other mob, I think I mispronounced it earlier. If I didn't already say it, the other effect that they can apply, like I said, is a slowness effect that will randomly hit you for a second or two. And then it'll go away, and then it'll come back, and it'll go away. So it's a permanent effect that you get hit with. So just kind of keep that in mind. He doesn't do anything extra that I've been able to discover. I haven't been able to discover any extra trades. I believe he has the same trades as the Martian. So that's pretty much everything that's on Mars. I still have to hitch a ride on an asteroid back to Earth, but I'll tell you what, we'll just take the shortcut. Because I do want to answer that question, what happens when we have fallen meteors and we put them into a carbonado furnace? So let's go ahead and pull out, let's see, carbonado edge furnace. All right, let's grab that. We'll place it right here. Let's see, give Boomer some coal. And let's just grab some more meteors. So we've got a full stack. So let's watch and see what happens. It would appear that the luck factor is not applicable to getting ourselves some tungsten. As a matter of fact, you don't want to use the furnace, because look what it just did. Instead, we want to use a smeltery. So the furnace actually turned it into netherite scrap. So that's a bad thing. We want to actually use the smeltery to get our tungsten ingots. So that answers that question. And that might be something that's changed later on down the road. You know, if you want to waste your tungsten on netherite scrap, I guess you saw how rare it is, so you probably have better luck mining in another. But here's our tungsten ingots. So a lot of new things learned today, and guys, I hope that helped you. I hope you're enjoying the series. We're going to continue next time with going to Venus, how we're going to have to get there, the items that we need, and we're going to be able to start crafting new machines soon that will allow us to travel further and farther out into space. But for now, I'm going to say thank you, wrap this up, and don't forget, when you're playing Slimefun, you got to go Boomer or you got to go home. We'll see you later.